As far as visitors go, we have our staff or administration. We appreciate them being here. Don't see any visitors. Unless I'm overlooking anyone. Anyway, since this is a special meeting, I don't think we have public comment for this, and nothing was necessarily submitted for us. So with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Take a motion for that so we can talk about it.
So moved. Marcia?
Second, Amanda.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay. So doesn't seem like there's any discussion. So we'll move it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Sorry, yeah. Anyone opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Next, turn it over to Tom for any correspondence. I haven't gotten anything outside of emails, which I think the rest of the board would have seen when it came in. So
Nothing to note.
sorry. Okay, so no correspondence. We'll move on to the superintendent's report. Tom, go ahead, please.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. This is typically done at the May meeting, and it is the year in review. Typically, this is a rather lengthy presentation, and it will still be lengthy, but I'll try to be perhaps more concise than I have been in previous years, given the fact that we are in a virtual environment. So I'm going to attempt to share a screen, so bear with me. This PowerPoint is in the board packet as well. As I said, good evening, and on behalf of our hardworking students and staff, I wanted to provide you with a brief year in review of the significant highlights of this school year. It certainly is not meant to be all-encompassing or all-inclusive, but rather an overview of the great teaching and learning that is occurring in our school district. You'll certainly find a more comprehensive report on the board goals in your board packet. And while this presentation primarily focuses on our district work prior to the COVID-19 closure, I couldn't be more proud of this team's efforts during this time of school closure. I am proud of every single staff member's contribution to make a distance learning in Waterford successful for our students. I never doubted that this team of professionals would buckle up and do the work. For that, I am grateful. Our mission to ensure the 2,500 students we have in our care every year have the opportunity for a better life. That is no small task. One of the main focuses as a district remains our implementation of our strategic plan. Albeit this year was a bit different with the school closure happening in mid-March. But even with this truncated year, our district was still able to accomplish many of the goals in the strategic plan we had originally set out to do. I now want to walk you through some of those strategic plan accomplishments. As we shared with you throughout the year, we were able to finalize our vision of the graduate. As we shared the vision of the graduate, will ultimately replace the academic, social, and civic skills. The vision of the graduate is a foundational element in our pre-K-12 district. Remaining work on the vision of the graduate includes finalization of the performance indicators for the rubric for each skill in the vision of the graduate. With the next revision cycle, the vision of the graduate combined with the hot skills will be key elements in the curriculum document, positively impacting instruction in the classroom long term. That curriculum template was shared with all of you at an earlier board meeting by Mr. Powers. The creation of performance indicators rubric pre-K to 12 is in alignment with our other work on ensuring we have common rubrics in place across the district. One of the strategic plan items that has been sidelined this spring was our work on a district dashboard. Identifying those metrics we feel help us measure our district mission and the impact of the strategic plan. We obviously have the Next Generation Accountability Index, but what are those other metrics we feel as a district are important for us to monitor? We've begun asking ourselves, is it important to know what percentage of our student body is involved in co-curricular activities? Do we want to know what the percentage of students who finish college in 4 years is? How many are employed or after college? The work on a district dashboard continues. We continue our work on refining and enhancing the power of PLCs. Our PLCs continue to use data cycles to guide their work. The prepare, inquire, act cycle. They ask themselves, what does this data tell us about our students' learning? What does the data tell us about our teaching? What can we do differently to ensure every student is learning at a high level? Then they reassess and start that same cycle all over again. We launched our district data warehouse this year across the district with multiple staff trainings. This data warehouse allows us instantaneous access to data from all corners of our district in one cohesive place, pulling data into one location from our behavioral, attendance, academic, and assessment systems. The revised curricular template I mentioned moments ago will continue to transform the expectations we have for our students. It will solidify the pre-K-12 curriculum continuum. One of the things that our district data team realized is that we are already addressing many of the vision of the graduate performance indicators on a daily basis. But our process will formalize that, and we will have clear pre-K to 12 articulation around our vision of the graduate. Our district data team, made up of administrators and teachers, continues to play a vital role in our district. This team, a steering committee, works to achieve the intent of the strategic plan under Mr. Power's leadership. On the SEL goals of the strategic plan this year, we rolled out our pre-K-12 school counseling curriculum. Schools are in the process of finalizing tiered matrices for SEL support. Again, this work was cut short this year. Finalizing our matrices will systematize many of the strategies we have in place. As you know, as a board and policy committee members, the work of the policy committee continued this year, totally realigning the policy book. The board has had a strong priority throughout the years on ensuring our team has the resources and professional development to continue to grow as professionals. We had several PD days this year, but did lose the March PD day to COVID-19 planning. We continue to focus, we continue to focus our PD on current district initiatives and programs and aligning the PD with our teacher goals. It really is about aligning all the district systems to head in the right direction. The district has seen strong results in the last several years, and our approach to professional development is one of those reasons. Our secondary schools continue their work with Great Schools Partnership this year, focusing on standards and mastery. Other teacher professional development throughout the year centered on school safety with Run, Hide, Fight, a change in protocol, and that PD was delivered by the Waterford Police Department. As I mentioned earlier, we started rolling out our training and implementation of our data warehouse. There was social emotional learning and grade-specific PD throughout the year as well. We continued building the capacity of our staff with more Google certification classes, which has proved to be immensely helpful during this time of school closure. And there has been numerous and ongoing PD on COVID-19 specific delivery of instruction throughout the spring. We know, and the research shows, that if students' mental and emotional needs aren't being met, their chances at academic success decrease sharply. Our work on mental health approaches is vital in our mission. This board has had a consistent priority for our district to continue to design and implement programs to meet the SEL needs of our students. You've heard about many of these efforts throughout the year. through presentations and other. We know we cannot continue to do this work alone, and we work with community partners in many of these vital areas. Waterford High School was due to join the Sandy Hook Promise programming this year with the Say Something program and the Signs of Suicide training for all staff and students through a grant and the Department of Public Safety. Unfortunately, school closure did not allow us to conduct that staff and student PD this spring. Central office and the high school administrative team have been discussing on how to enhance our advisory program to implement a new broad-based SEL program as well. The new social worker at the high school, funded through the IDEA grant, has already had an impact with the position focusing on chronic truancy and students with repeated behavioral infractions. This work doesn't happen alone, as I said, and we engage many community partners in this work, many of them right here in our own town, such as the Waterford Youth and Family Services Bureau and the Waterford Police Department. We also began working this year with the Community Foundation for Eastern Connecticut and are in the midst of an asset mapping exercise, mapping all of our existing partnerships. Our hope is that our relationship with them can grow as the needs of our community also continue to grow. Engaging families and promoting the good work happening is so important. Whether it's our coordinated marketing or designing new events for families, we never feel our work in this area is done. Events such as Parent Academy continued this year. We held school safety forums for our parents. We continue to co-sponsor events with our Youth and Family Services Bureau. And we launched a strong partnership with the Waterford Senior Center this year with a tour of Waterford High School with other schools planned in future years. Mr. Powers and I presented at a lunch and learn at the Senior Center as well. Engaging our senior population, who make up approximately 40% of the Waterford community, is vital to our district. Parent engagement can take many forms. What we know is our parents are engaged in their child's education in our schools in a variety of ways. We offer evening and morning workshops on a variety of topics, including one on youth mental health this year, which was co-sponsored with the East Lyme Public Schools. Our district print and electronic newsletter, our informational flyers help us market and promote our great school system. We have a greater online presence than ever before, and we've continued to actively engage the local press and media. We were honored to have 2 Connecticut State Department of Education visits this year, including the Commissioner and the State Performance Office, 2 statewide presentations, one being the math department at Clark Lane at the Performance Matters Conference, and a district-wide presentation across the state on distance learning. Again, one of 3 districts asked for that honor. Knowing where we are, what we've done, and where we're going are all necessary steps in the enhancement of our district. This board goal around assessment aligns perfectly with the strategic plan and the work we're doing throughout the district. We implemented our district assessment framework this year, having a cohesive assessment system pre-K to 12 across all schools. MAP continues to be a key assessment for all of us. With our data warehouse now, we can now compare MAP against SBAC and other curricular assessments more quickly and efficiently than ever. Our school growth plans are a roadmap for success, utilizing the data to drive instruction. Other initiatives, such as the Redo Retake program at Clark Lane, are focusing our staff and students on mastery of standards more than ever before. It tells our students, we want you to do your best, and we aren't going to just teach it and we both move on. There is more work to do on this standard until you've mastered it. Our school leadership teams across our 5 schools, comprised of the building administration and a team of teachers, have given our teachers a greater voice in the school and a stronger focus on the teaching and learning process. They meet often to share and discuss the data and what the next steps for the school are. These teams closely examine the Next Generation Accountability Index to develop school goals and strategies to respond to areas of need. Dwindling federal, state, and local resources force us to stretch the dollar in ways we haven't been asked to before. Stretching the dollar we get is important and has been an important board and district goal for quite some time. We are not only working with our own town on cooperative bidding and joint purchasing, but we do work with other districts to find efficiencies in areas such as transportation, joint bidding, and purchasing endeavors. We pursue optional dollars where some districts might not choose to pursue, such as our Medicaid funds. It is more work on our staff, but in the end benefits our students. We've taken the determined approach to negotiations to settle contracts that aim at long-term containment versus short-term fixes. 4 unions now have new salary schedules for new hires. Energy pursuits such as LED lighting, which we will talk about tonight for CLMS, matter. Chasing grants for more opportunities, totaling $625,000 in the last 4 years, are competitive grants that we had to choose to pursue. A few of those grants for this past school year are listed on the slide, and many of these you've heard through newsletters, Friday note, or at board meetings. We strive to create schools where students want to learn and where the adults want to work. Our schools have some form of a school climate committee, and we've strived to create meaningful opportunities for greater staff voice, such as school leadership teams and the district data team. We now have paras represented on our district planning, PD planning committee. On the student front, as social emotional programming is so important to creating that happy environment for students and staff. Small changes like changing CLMS to the Lanciers has had a very positive impact. Our unified sports program is second to none. You might recall high school teacher Colleen Lineberg was named statewide Unified Coach of the Year. It's always nice to be recognized by others for the good work as a validation of our staff and students' efforts. We've had some tremendous highlights this year. As I mentioned, our unified program, our arts and music programs continue to be recognized. Our newly formed CLMS robotics program did extremely well on a statewide competition. Academically, Math Counts, National Honor Society, World Language Honor Society, and other recognition matter as well. Our students not only achieve, but our staff do also. You might recall 3 of our teachers this year received Fund for Teacher Fellowship grants. While they were due to fulfill those fellowships this summer, they have been put off to the summer of 21. CLMS math teacher Jay G&A was a finalist for Math Teacher of the Year. And as we all know, our sports programs and other sports endeavors continue to excel. As you've heard throughout the year, the Connecticut State Department of Education has us on their radar, and I mean that in a good way. Whether it be the Performance Matters Conference, the Commissioner's Visit, the math visit by the Performance Office, or naming Great Neck as a school of distinction, Waterford is on the map. And of course, Waterford Public Schools is a vital part of the greater Waterford community. Charitable endeavors, tens of thousands of hours of LTS on a yearly basis, helping those in need is part of our mission. We also take time to recognize those who've sacrificed for all of us with our Veterans Day program. As I close out this presentation, once again, I thank our entire Waterford Public Schools team for their hard work. The 39 slides are just a snapshot of all that is happening in our district. To get the true picture, I encourage you to read and review the annual board goals report that approaches 20 pages. Our staff and students work hard each day, and there is high quality teaching and learning occurring. Not only that you heard tonight, but throughout the year. I especially want to thank our team for the incredible hard work and positive attitude during school closure. In a matter of days, we transformed our district from everything we knew to something that's never been done before in the history of education anywhere. Our entire team from support staff, administrators, teachers, and central office got the job done in a high quality way and continue to do so. I also know the work isn't done. as the fall return to school remains uncertain. What does remain certain is I know this team can do it. On behalf of our team, I thank the board for their continued support in setting the course forward for the district. As the year comes to a close in the next couple of weeks, I thank our parents and families for being engaged and trusting us to the best we can for their child. This truly has been another great year despite all the challenges in the Waterford Public Schools. That concludes the year in review, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or entertain any comments.
I'm just going to say thank you to you and staff for just an incredible work you've got throughout the year, let alone what we've had to face since March. Just a fantastic effort by everybody throughout the district. It's just a testament to the quality of people we have and their dedication to the students and to their work. So we absolutely appreciate that so much. Also, just remind anyone that's not muted, if you're not planning on speaking, if you just move, whether you're dialed in or on Zoom, please kind of limit the background noise. Anyone else that had any comments or anything they'd like to say?
Okay, I do have a couple remaining items under superintendent's report. As I mentioned, we have about 2 weeks to go and distance learning remains underway. All of our schools are planning a variety of student recognition events. Most notably will be the high school graduation at Waterford Beach on Thursday, June 18th at 6 p.m. That will be a limited attendance event for graduates and their families. The general public will be able to view that ceremony on our district YouTube stream, thanks to our fantastic IT department. Schools are in the process of staff and student pickup of personal belongings, and that remains ongoing. We've been in touch with parents about that. We are in the process of planning our summer programming, i.e. summer school and summer academy and extended school year services for our special ed population. That will kick off no earlier than July 6th, as that is the earliest date that the governor's executive order would allow us to begin summer programming. We received further guidance from the state just within the last day or two, and we are sifting through that. The majority, if not all, of summer programming will remain in a distance learning environment, and summer academy and summer programming under the direction of Mr. Macrino, I'm sure will launch as successfully as distance learning has, throughout the spring. On a district-wide level, while this year is not closed out, we are already planning for the reopening of school, absent state guidance right now, but we are forming a Waterford Public Schools district reopening task force where the various members of the central office team and administrative team will be broken out into various subcommittees, and we'll be engaging teachers and other pertinent experts in that work. Subcommittees on reopening will include teaching and learning, logistics such as transportation and personal protective equipment, buildings, cleaning furniture, social emotional programming for staff and students, and communication coordination. So those 5 or 6 subcommittees will be part of a larger reopening task force, and certainly will keep the board aware of our plans as we move forward. Just want to point out, in this era of so many challenges, some great news that the 5th grade students at Oswegatchie School have decided to take the majority of the money they raised through fundraising efforts this year that are normally used to celebrate the promotion, and are donating that money to the Interfaith Food Locker here in town. So just a really, those are the students that we aim to nurture in our school district, and that's just one indication of the many great things that happen across our 5 schools. Lastly, the softball field, I believe, is essentially done. I do have a few slides on screen share that I can share of pictures of the field in its mostly finished form, if not finished form, thanks to the Waterford Police Department drone. but you can see that is not an artist's rendering. That is the actual field. That is pretty crisp and clean, if I don't say so myself. You might think it was a computer-generated graphic, but that is an overhead shot of our actual field, and it's just tremendous. And another shot there, right overhead. So unfortunate that our female athletes did not get access to that field for games this spring, but they certainly will in the future. And that, Mr. Chair, concludes the superintendent's report for this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Those pictures of the field are pretty incredible. So happy to see that. So we'll move on to the committee reports.
Craig,
Yes,
I
sir.
have just a comment.
Yeah.
Greg Benoit here. On that task force, Tom, are we going to have some parents involved? Because this distant learning process, there have been problems. Families have struggled, students have struggled, and I think we need to have their information in how we go forward. It's not a perfect world. We're not getting everyone as well as we would like to, and we need to hear where those problems are and where better to get them than from the parents and maybe even the students themselves. So I would just encourage you to consider including those people on the task force.
Yes, point well taken, Mr. Benoit, that parental input is vital, not only to process the spring, but also moving forward. We did do a midpoint parent survey in late April around how distance learning was going. Mr. Powers and the team are working on another survey for parent feedback this spring, and parent input, whether it's participation on a committee or soliciting feedback on a broader base across the entire parent community via survey is vital across the town and the school district. And as you pointed out, it is certainly, while it's been our best effort, it hasn't been perfect, and there are areas that we can enhance.
I would be happy to help engage parents if you need that, or help engage perspectives, or be a liaison between the two, or whatever is allowed. I would be happy to help with that this summer when my job, technically it's my planning time. It's a little bit slower for me, so feel free to use me if you need to.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. So if that's it for now, we'll move on to the committee and liaison reports. We did have a policy committee meeting. Marcia, did you want to give us an update?
Or Marcia, if you don't, I'll be happy to do it too.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't matter.
Either one.
So we had 5 policies on, and they're on the agenda tonight. And what we're doing, as you probably all know, is we're going through, trying to clean up things and get to what I would describe as a best practices policy situation. And at the same time, keep up to date with this steady stream of state mandated changes to our policies. And that's exactly what this last policy meeting was about. And those 5 policies on the agenda tonight, that's what it's all about. And Craig will address that when we get to that point of the agenda. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you. I think that was the only committee we had meeting between that last meeting and this. As far as liaison reports, I had a Atlantic broadband meeting. Not too much going on there. there has been some changes at Atlantic Broadband locally where some of the management was let go. They're trying to centralize some of their management, so that was a bit of a shock for us. But other than that, it was an uneventful meeting. I don't know if anyone else has anything to report for anything they might have attended. Okay, and don't see any liaisons from any of the other committees on tonight, so we'll move on to the new business section, which we'll start off with Mr. Mancini with some budget talk.
Yeah, so obviously an ever-moving projection. We've communicated to the town that we expect at least $400,000 at the end of the year. We're still in negotiations with a few of our vendors that are out there. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar that the governor kind of tied our hands a little bit and directed us to pay for some services that actually weren't rendered. But right now, we're right around $700,000 to $800,000 favorable. You have requests for some potential expenditures for right around $365,000 that we're going to talk about in a little bit. I think it's actually the next item. But most of the favorability that we're seeing right now is from the VNA. It is from transportation and substitutes. I mean, so not having spring sports and not having to call in teacher subs has been very favorable for us financially. One thing I do not have a handle on yet is what our unemployment exposure is. The state is at least 6 to 8 weeks behind in giving us our bill. So I don't know how many people we have that are out there that are eligible to claim. My guess is upwards of 70 to 80 people, but I'll have a projection within the next 3 weeks.
Joe, that unemployment exposure, would that hit this fiscal year or next?
Yeah, so we're a municipality, so we don't do accruals. We do what's called modified accrual accounting. So I'll create what's called an encumbrance, which is essentially a preservation of fund balance. So it's basically a projection. I'll take this year's balance that we have, and I'll preserve money to pay those bills in the future years. I can't, we can't start off the year in the hole for next year with unemployment exposure. So I'll encumber that amount. For those of you that are new, you guys might not actually know this. Municipalities in the state of Connecticut actually reimburse the state for any unemployment exposure. So even though the people that have been laid off by the municipality are receiving checks from the state, we ultimately end up reimbursing the state for those expenses. It's different than the private side. Any questions?
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Doesn't sound like there's any questions on that. Thank you. We'll move on to the budget expenditure, year-end budget expenditure.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring some year-end budget expenditures forward to the board. I believe these are necessary expenditures. Many of them are due to COVID-19 and frankly preparing for the fall. You have a list in your backup, and we wanted to walk you through that. I do have directors online to assist with any explanation and questions, but I'm going to have Joe kind of walk us through that list of asks. This is an action item that we're asking for.
Yeah, so if everyone has the memo in front of them, I'll actually skip right to agenda item 6B to talk about Clark Lane Middle School lighting project. We talked about this the other night. So this is replacing the lighting in all the classrooms over at Clark Lane. Clark Lane is kind of an interesting building. It was the only one in the district that I'm aware of that did not have LED lighting. And much like the Golden Gate Bridge with the painting project, it seems like we're never done replacing lighting there. Once we fix all the broken ones on one side of the building, they pop on the other side, and we're just constantly over there. So working with Eversource, we've been able to secure some nice rebates. So we're looking for about $27,000 to undertake this project. It's relatively large. It's going to tie up our electricians for about 6 weeks. It's not a one-for-one direct replacement. So for every 2 of the existing light fixtures, we're putting in 1 LED, which is slightly more powerful. We expect the savings to be about $25,000. So when we talked on Monday, we discussed actually bringing down next year's budget for CLMS electricity by $25,000.
That was, you might recall when we had our budget reductions meeting on Monday, we had spoke about this, that this would be the adjoining agenda item tonight for approval. Thank you. Joe, back to you.
And Joe, just real quickly, that's per year, $25,000 per year.
Correct. It's in perpetuity. Yep. Yeah, it's a significant rebate. It's actually 50 cents on the dollar. So I don't know if anyone ever looks at their electric bill that they pay, but there's always these little taxes that you see on the bottom that go to Eversource, and Eversource then doles it out for projects that are out there. So much like when we took advantage of it at Clark Lane for the natural gas project, we're looking to take advantage of it for the electricity project as well. All right, so on to the next one. So COVID replacement devices. So in the district, we've given out 611 Chromebooks, 96 iPads. On the Chromebook side, we expect roughly a third to come back either broken, damaged, or just aging out. So we're looking to buy 200 Chromebooks, which I understand in my memo I identified as laptops. These are Chromebooks, they are not laptops. We're looking for about $52,000. On the iPad side, we're looking for $33,000 for that. Now, those are, I don't actually have the count in front of me, but that's the actual iPads themselves and the cases for them. There is a potential that these will be eligible for reimbursement. I will absolutely put them on a claim form. But that won't be until sometime next year once we actually start taking inventory of all the ones that come back broken. But I've already seen at least 15 iPads that have come back broken. And I'm sure we're gonna have similar things with the Chromebooks. All right. So distance learning software, this one I'm not as fluent with. So I'm actually going to look for Ed a little bit, but this does 2 things. One, it provides a lot of the software for distance learning on a year-to-year basis. There's a big request in here that's built something called ClassLink. Ed, do you mind walking them through the software that you're looking to add, or Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I can frame it also. We obviously had to ramp up from a traditional in-school learning environment to a remote learning environment. And in order for our teachers and students to be able to make that teaching and learning process happen, every district across the state has had to employ a variety of new software. There is 100% certainty in my mind that we will be in some form of distance learning come the fall, whether it's particular grade levels, particular days of the week. Every indication from the state is that distance learning, maybe not to the 5-day week every day for every kid, but a portion of our students or a portion of every student's learning experience will remain in distance learning. That I'm convinced of. There are back-end software requests, which I'll ask Ed to walk through, and then on the instructional front. But Ed, why don't you kind of talk about things like GoGuardian and ClassLink and PowerSchool and whatnot?
Okay, sure. And as you were saying, Tom, this is all related to distance learning. And, back in March when we sent all the kids home, we dove right into this with teachers, technology coaches, and principals, and there was requests coming to us from all directions on what software we're going to specify for the home learning environment, distance learning. And So we did that. We worked with the principals, coaches, teachers, and then we did some research on what other districts were doing. And over time, over the weeks, it kind of developed into kind of a standard in Connecticut, actually, where most of these programs that you see in front of you are in use and recently obtained by other districts in Connecticut to support their distance learning. These are all mainstream. For the most part, these are all mainstream and in use everywhere. They're working great for us. We're getting nothing but good feedback. And I can, Tom, did you want me to go through each one of them?
No, I mean, maybe I'll just hit upon some of the back end ones, that support kind of the infrastructure, Go Guardian, ClassLink, Power School, things of that nature. And then if there was any questions about the instructional ones, Craig could speak to those.
Okay, so the back end programs are necessary to basically make sure everything's working properly. We know who's got what device, and the applications are getting delivered to the proper students, and the teachers can see what they need to see, kind of like behind the scenes. So the first one would be Go Guardian. Go Guardian is it's a device management system that keeps track of our devices out there, so we know who's got what device and last time it was used and how much it was used. It also does internet filtering because we can't filter internet at the home level with the tools that we had in place previously. The Go Guardian actually allows us to port all the internet use from the students to go through their system before it gets a return, so it's filtered. The ClassLink, moving on to ClassLink, that's a big system. That's basically a software management system which ties together all the software in the curriculum that students are using, not just what you're seeing on this page, but everything in our software budget that's curriculum related. So it basically provides a user-friendly portal that the students hit. So when the students go to the ClassLink, it'll populate their screen, whether it's a Chromebook or an iPad, with all the appropriate icons and all the software that they are supposed to be using. So it kind of ties all that together. And in addition to tying it together, it keeps track of what software is being used. It keeps our software inventoried, and it allows us to take a closer look at the end of the year as far as what software is going unused, which is not the case, but is there software that just isn't getting used as much as we thought it was getting used, or is there software that is getting used all the time and we didn't realize that? So it gives us a better picture of what's going on with our software budget and what we're purchasing.
And on the student front related to ClassLink, would it be fair to say that we might have a student right now who's using 8 or 10 products and they have 8 or 10 different username and passwords, whereas with ClassLink, they would essentially have one username and password and they log on and all the products are there. I mean, I'm boiling it down, but that's essentially on the student end what they would see.
Exactly. It's called single sign-on, and single sign-on is a big part of ClassLink.
And then Power School online registration?
Yeah, so that's our enrollment software, and that's a snap into our existing Power School system that manages our student body, and it allows students to be registered for school off-site. And we right now we have a big packet of papers that has to be filled out, and proof of residency, and all kinds of information. And the Power School online enrollment product allows all that to occur through a web-based portal that the parents can use at home.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay.
Then there's a variety of instructional ones. I don't want to belabor it. We'd happy to answer any questions, but a variety of instructional softwares throughout. And again, Mr. Powers, we added all these with members of the teaching staff as well as the administrative team to make sure that they were necessary moving forward. school security, Joe?
Yeah. All right. So 2 items under this umbrella. We're looking at $5,000 to buy these door magnets. Now, these are interesting things. So you take your traditional door, you pre-lock it. You slide this magnet over where the lock would slide in, and it basically would keep the door so you could keep opening it and closing it without having it locked. But in the case of an emergency, you pull the magnet off, shut the door, and it locks. This way you don't have people fumbling for keys and whatnot. Then the next item was walkie-talkies. So we've been kind of kicking this around for the past couple of years. In the fiscal 21 capital request, we asked for money to buy these. And working with the police department, we expect our cost would be about $56,000 to buy a solution. And I believe, Tom, this is a mixture of both walkie-talkies and software.
Yeah, correct. It would allow full integration with the police department. So in the case of an emergency, our administrators and staff could be in direct contact with dispatch and officers. We have to do something, and an integrated system with the police department is being strongly supported by Chief Mahoney as well. So this was cut out of the capital budget, but I am prioritizing this for the board's consideration as highly needed.
Joe, I don't have the benefit of any visuals, but what's the difference between fumbling for keys and fumbling for magnets?
The magnet is actually attached to the door jamb.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
No worries.
I have a quick question on the walkie-talkies. Can they be used on the playgrounds and everywhere else too during the school day, not just for emergencies?
Correct. They would be daily use.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Nice. All right, any other questions on that? All right, so softball sidewalk. I'm gonna answer a portion of this, and I'm gonna kick it over to Jay. So the original design for the softball field over at the high school didn't have an ADA compliant sidewalk that was put in. We never really brought this before the school building committee. Having said that, it's been installed. So we're asking the board to fund $25,368 to pay for this project. Jay, I'm going to kick it over to you because I thought that this was actually a pretty favorable estimate that was given to us by the builder. So go ahead.
Yeah, when we looked at the final drawings, after the final iteration did not have sidewalks on it. In order to meet the ADA compliance, similar to how we did on the sports fields where we have those asphalt sidewalks to get wheelchairs and whatnot out to the actual playing area to watch their kids play, we needed that to get to the bleachers and the press box. And because it was not in there, the timing of the installation was judged by the contractor as opposed to approval from the building committee. So it's kind of an afterthought that it went in, but we had to have it. It is concrete. It's an excellent job, and we did receive it and a benefit to the code and the town. So I would suggest that we do pay for that.
Thanks, Jay.
So what do you, a quick question. So it's already been done at the contractor's expense?
Correct.
And is he willing to write that off or?
No.
No, he is willing to remove it though.
Yeah, he will come out and take it out if we don't pay for it.
Okay.
Less questions asked, the better. Great job done. Move it forward. Thank you very much.
All right, so moving on. PPE. Guys, this is just a number that we're throwing out. Obviously, there's going to be needs for additional PPE or PPE. We don't know what's going to be available to us as far as reimbursement. The state has gone out and actually gotten consortium pricing for a whole list of items. I'm truly waiting for direction from the state on whether or not when and if kids come back, whether or not we're providing masks, Are we putting plexiglass around all the desks? You know, how much hand sanitizer? What are we doing? There's going to be a cost. My guess is $50,000 is probably exceedingly low. But if we only have to provide items like masks and hand sanitizer and gloves, I think that's a reasonably good estimate.
Question, Joe, why not just take the guidelines that are in place right now and implement those in terms of cost estimates? I don't understand. We know there's going to be requirements for wearing masks. We know there's going to be requirements for social distancing. So I don't understand this waiting.
Well,
you know,
Just to
maybe it'll
put it-
come in less, but we have to program for the worst case scenario.
I mean, certainly if the board wants to up that amount, you know, if we were to take current guidelines and if it was incumbent upon the school district to provide masks for all students and faculty at 2 masks a day of the disposable kind, that's 120,000 masks per month, or 1.2 million masks for the school year for just Waterford. Currently running about $250 a piece. That's, I don't know, $2.8 million just for masks for Waterford schools. I agree, Greg. It's absurd to think about this in large numbers.
you know, Tom, I'm going to kind of interject briefly. In the past, we've talked about asking the Board of Finance to set up a rollover account where any favorability that we had was available to us in future years for expenditures, right? So under state of Connecticut general statutes, Board of Educations are allowed to set aside 2% of their operating budget if they're favorable. This is obviously a year that we're going to be favorable, but what it would do is it would allow us access to those funds next year, so we wouldn't have to go back for a supplemental appropriation. I don't think we've actually told the entire board everything that we've seen from the state yet as far as some of the guidance. So some of the guidance that we're seeing right now is 13 children allowed on a bus that can normally carry 6. There's going to be significant expenses that we're going to be talking about over the summer once we get better guidance on what this looks like. But I think near term, we might be able to ask the Board of Finance just to establish that fund, and maybe that gives us access to it for next year.
And I guess some of this too is this guidance is going to hopefully come with some funding to support this guidance is what we don't know, obviously.
I don't know how the state.
What do we have to do to get this ball rolling downhill so that we can do that? We can put those funds aside and we can get the Board of Finance to approve it.
All right, so I can write a policy and have it compliant with state regulations and sent to the Board of Finance for Monday. I'll tell you, in the past, I've talked to the board, and there didn't seem to be a tremendous amount of political willingness, not will, sorry.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We have our obligations and we just meet them. And if they don't agree with us, fine. But we've done our homework and we've laid it out for them.
Okay.
I agree. I'm supportive of at least sending a memo to Board of Finance so they entertain. If there's ever a year to have a dialogue about it, it's this year.
Yeah.
So we will plan to do that. At least ask for an agenda item to discuss it in the very short term.
Yeah, it would have to be approved this month.
Yes, it would.
Their next meeting is Monday, you're saying?
No, I'm saying I can have the memo written by Monday. I believe the next meeting is like it's probably 2 weeks from today, to be honest with you.
Okay. No, that would be good.
The last item I had was on teacher laptops. Now, ironically, we discussed this during the budgeting process, and we decided that we were going to put off buying the laptops, and then distance learning happened. The Quaker Hill laptops are just exceedingly stressed. We're looking to get those replaced as well. IT is spending a disproportionate amount of time supporting this distance learning, and they just need equipment that works.
So would you like a motion for all these items collectively, or how do you want to do this, Greg?
I'll default to you guys. We can,
Yes, I'm requesting action from the board on this. There is a motion in the under new business under 6B.
Yeah, please, if someone would like to make that motion, I'd appreciate it.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to download everything, so I don't have the motion. So if someone else has it available, go ahead and read. Not hearing any, I will sort of draft my own motion here.
Marcia, I'll get it for you.
Thank you.
Recommended action is that the Waterford Board of Education approves the FY20 year-end budget expenditures as proposed and authorizes administration to make the necessary line item adjustments.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? What's the total?
That was a motion, not a recommended action. That was a motion to do that. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I just do we have a total on what the or?
Yeah, $365,452.
And that's kind of offset by the 700 that we've saved.
Yeah, correct. That is correct, Craig. We'll still be at least 400,000 favorable to the town this year.
And the hope is we can carry at least that much over.
Correct.
Hopefully, that'd be great. I think that something that carryover would be great for all parties involved. You know, not just us. But. Okay. Any other discussion?
Craig, it's Amanda Gates Lamoth. I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
As far as computers, we are using Chromebooks at our district, and they're really difficult to talk to. Microsoft products, we're having a lot of issues with that. Have the Chromebooks been vetted as the best material to use as far as computers go, or are you having similar IT issues, not with aging Chromebooks, but with the inability, if you will, for Microsoft products to talk to the Google product without downloading the extensions that you need?
I'm going to defer to Ed Crane on that.
Sure. Yeah. So definitely a problem, and we just over time kind of embrace the whole Google Classroom and try to avoid and move away from software that's not compatible with Chromebooks. So we do still have some things out there, but for the most part, we're just using the things that snap into, the Google snap-ins and things that are compatible with the Chromebooks.
Okay.
Michelle, go ahead.
Is this only for the students that need it, and parents are still required, if they can provide for a child, their own product or their own computer or Chromebook?
So two things. The devices, the Chromebooks in this particular proposal are really projecting as replacements. In the FY21 budget are additional Chromebooks above and beyond what we have today. So we will see a ramp up in the number of Chromebooks in the district next year. Again, depending on who's coming to school and who's working from home as far as students next fall. We didn't hand out all the Chromebooks that we had in our inventory, so we do have more, and this will allow us, between this and the FY21 budget, allow us to even expand our inventory on a larger basis.
Was there any discussion about doing a 1-for-1 like other schools? And is that a goal?
That's been an ongoing discussion in district. The tech committee working on a new 3 or 5 year tech plan That is something that we were actually gearing up to do some surveys of staff, students, and families when COVID hit. There are certainly, you want to really be deliberate about a one-to-one environment. Number one, are you buying, leasing? Who's paying the insurance? Is the district picking up the insurance, or is that the family? It's about $35 a year per Chromebook, based on estimates. So this will allow us to get closer to a one-to-one and kind of leverage COVID as a way to get there. Depending on how the CARES Act money parses out. Again, I mentioned that's tied up in Washington right now. That might allow us to add even more devices. So I think we're gradually getting there. Will we have the funds to launch one-to-one on August 25th? No, but we're getting there.
The question about the difference between the usage of the Chromebooks and the iPads. Where are the iPads used? For students, or is that primarily for staff?
I'll let Craig and Kathy talk about that. Primarily, those are at the primary grades, pre-K to 1, 2.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. So, the iPads are easy to manipulate, very interactive. When there are books that are read aloud, word, will say it. So we really focus the iPad instruction in pre-KK grade 1 with Chromebooks grade 2 up. With that being said, we do have our high school, one high school science kind of cart of iPads because they work better for the lab software that they need for that course. So sometimes it's course specific, but in general, it's for the primaries.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, not seeing or hearing anyone. So with that, we'll take that to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Next up, tuition rates.
Sure, this tuition rate is annually set by the board. This deals with out-of-town families who wish to send their child here. This is not the K-8 partner district tuition that was approved in January. This is really for somebody who wants to send their child here and as an individual family. So happy to answer any questions, but pretty straightforward.
Okay, I'll take a motion for that, please.
I move approval of the tuition rates for the 2020-2021 fiscal year as presented.
Thank you, Greg.
Second,
Deb?
Amanda Gates Lamont.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, appears to be no discussion on that. We'll take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, carries unanimously. Next is our special education tuition rates.
This would apply to the same population as the previous motion, as well as our K-8 partner districts, if they were to send a child that was special ed here.
Okay, thank you. Take a motion for that, please.
This is Deb. I move that the Waterford Board of Education approves and adopts the special education tuition rates for non-resident students and K-8 districts for the 2020-2021 school year as proposed.
Second.
Second from Joy.
Yep, that's Joy.
Any discussion? There'll be no discussion on that. We'll take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next will be the accounts receivable write-off.
Joe?
Yeah, so each year we give about 10 to 12 months of trying to collect past due balances. So we do the before care, and we have insurance premiums for employees that are no longer under our tenure. Ultimately, to write those items off, it requires the Board of Education to make a motion to basically allow us to erase those amounts from our accounts. These are relatively small dollars. The 40. So we go through multiple attempts of trying to collect these funds, letters to home, and if the dollar is large enough, we'll actually take legal action. We have gone to small claims court. Having said that, even on the insurance premiums for the termed employees, this is across at least 3, possibly 4 employees. It doesn't make sense to go to small claims court for dollar amounts this small.
Okay. We'll take a motion, please.
We move that the Waterford Board of Education approves and authorizes the write-off of receivables outlined in Mr. Mancini's memo dated May 28, 2020, in the amount of $519.49.
Second.
Second from Amanda. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And abstain. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Next, Tom, did you want to get this? You want me to?
Yeah, sure, I can mention it. We'll be commencing negotiations in August with both the WFCT and WASA, which is the administrators. Obviously, board members are key members of the committee, along with central office and board council and a representative from Board of Finance. This doesn't need to be decided exactly tonight, and certainly it's up to the chair, but those may be interested, let you know, Mr. Chair, between now and say the June 25th meeting, if that sounds logical.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the next step after that would be to have board council come in and meet with the team and discuss, options and whatnot. If anybody is wondering about the time commitment involved, just feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting process. It's good. I should unmute myself when I'm talking. Just reach out to me, send an email with your interest. I know at least 2 people have expressed interest so far, so that'd be good. And we'll go from there.
To the chair, I have a question.
Certainly.
Tom, where are we, speaking of contracts, where are we with the Paris contract? Or is it, I have to wait to bring that up under new business?
I don't know that that would be germane under this particular agenda item. I'd be happy to give the board an update on that, either via written memo or at the June 25th meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, next item is we need a representative for the Learn. If anyone would be interested in that, can either do that tonight, hopefully. If not, just send me an email. Is there anyone that is able to make that commitment to Learn? The meetings are during the day, as far as I know, correct, Chris? They were when I was on it.
Yes, correct. Hence why I had to get off. I didn't
Nope.
like your time.
I know, totally understand and appreciate you taking that on. That was good. That's so. Is there anyone that is interested in taking on that role for us as liaison to learn? If not, then I'll do it, and until someone feels they can relieve me for that, that's fine. Just send a note. Just give some thought. Appreciate any help I can get on that. Next is the high school AP Government and Politics course.
Yeah. So we have one of the curriculum renewals underway is social studies. And as part of the process, we always say, well, what other courses would be helpful for our students? We're always looking at what areas of college and career readiness would round out our students. And when we look at the AP offerings, there's one course on AP Government and Politics that seems to be very germane. The high school did conducted some interest surveys around if this was a potential course, how many people would be interested in it. The turnout was warranted. Running this course, they would be the faculty member would be really following the AP curriculum for this. You'll see a final version of this when we submit the whole curriculum to the board when the social studies work is complete. But we would like to run this course this year, again, following the AP curriculum. We just haven't put it in our format yet. We would like to get the recommended textbook as well for this course. So that's the considerations tonight. I probably, if we didn't have the distance learning, probably would have been able to work with the department to put that AP course into our format for you to look at it in greater detail. But the memo I outlined did send you to the link for the College Board, which shows all the components for the course. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Do we have any other AP courses in the civics sort of realm, or would this be the only one?
Yeah, so we currently offer 12 AP courses. That list is not coming off the top of my head, but when in looking at the all the offerings that the College Board offers, I had discussion with the high school principal saying, it looks like there's about 6 or 7 more courses that we could probably offer that I think would benefit our students. So this would be one of them, and would allow students to have that AP opportunity.
With that, I'd be happy to take a motion if anyone would like to.
I'll do the motion. It's Pat Fedor. That the Waterford Board of Education approves the Waterford High School course AP Government and Politics as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Deb.
Second.
Okay, we have Pat with a motion, and I believe this is Deb first there with the second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Next will be the instructional materials for the course.
So attached in the board docs is the policy 6161 instructional materials adoption form. So you can see the books that we've vetted. This one is the recommended book for the AP course. And so if we have a June 25th meeting in person, we would be able to show you the book. Otherwise, I could kind of hold it up in Zoom, but that's the book. You could probably Google it virtually. And if anyone has any more questions, I'd be happy to answer it. But this is just initial notification until the next board meeting.
If anybody wanted to review the book, we could certainly have the courier get it to you also. That's another option.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just a point of order on item 6G, appointment of Learn Board representative. Typically, we take a motion to approve committees. We can do that June 25th to see if anybody else wants to do it, or do it tonight. It's entirely up to you.
Wait, at this time, it doesn't seem like anyone is necessarily able to make the commitment, which I totally understand. So, and if that's the case, then it'll be me taking on that again.
Well, I gratefully move that the chair be approved as our representative to the Learn Board for the duration of 2020. And I thank Chris at the same time for his prior services.
Yes.
Thank you, and I'll second that. The motion.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will take that to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstain. I guess I'll have to abstain on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So I'm it.
Condolences.
Yay me. All right. We'll move on to the first reading of a handful of policies here, Mr. Powers.
Approve the textbooks? Or did we already do that?
We're going to approve that at the next meeting, Marcia. Generally, we get over 2 meetings.
Okay.
Thank you. For tonight, we have 6 policies. 2 will require only 1 read if the board is satisfied to approve them. 4 will require 2 because they're more suggestions rather than statutory changes. I'll go over each, ask questions, and then you can maybe take the action of the policies and nest them into the 2 for approval if you so choose. The first one tonight is Code of Conduct for Child Nutrition Programs. So this is in accordance with the federal requirements and state requirements, and it's a model code relating to the procurement of goods, services in the connection of the school nutrition program. So this was one of the recommendations from the school nutrition audit that we had recently, as well as a model practice. So that's the first one. If there are any questions. Hearing none, and if my teacher wait time is not quick enough, please board members jump in, is the sexual discrimination and harassment in the workplace policy has been revised based upon a public act to update mandatory training requirements from administration and must train all staff by October 1. Additional amendments regarding the required notice, which must be emailed to employees annually about this policy. This one you could approve at this meeting at this time. Be happy to address any questions.
I move approval of policy 448 and policy 5330 as presented.
The first one was 3240, correct?
Oh, I thought it was 4448.
444 is
But the motion was 4448 and 5330 for approval.
Yeah, I can jump to 5330 right now, Greg, which is the new sunscreen application in schools. And you're right, Greg, this was a requirement for a public act, and it's allowing children the age 6 or older, they may self-apply sunscreen in school for outdoor activities, but we must garner permission, signed permission from the parents. So with that, you could have that motion on the table for those 2 policies if you wanted, Mr. Chair.
I do. That's my.
Okay, so that's the motion we have in front of us then, Greg?
Yes.
Okay, a second, please.
I'll do the second.
Okay, thank you, Marcia. Any discussion? Okay, take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And abstentions. Okay, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. The next policy would be our transportation policy. We have a model transportation policy for students was revised to clarify hazardous conditions for those residents who abut public streets, roads, and highways, and where they should wait on private property if the bus arrives, and exiting the school bus on public streets, roads, and highways, so that students can access private property where they reside. So this has been updated, and happy to address any questions. Hearing none, then there's been an update with the students with special health care conditions. Upon feedback from the Office of Civil Rights, the revisions include adding students with diabetes, the protected provisions to students with life-threatening food allergies and glycogen storage diseases. The revisions also clarify that these food allergies or should be referred to 504 teams to codify a safety plan. I'll be happy to answer any questions on that policy. And rounding off my short teacher wait time, the last policy would be on credits for online courses. This policy was revised to address the distance learning opportunity offered during this current pandemic and any future long-term school closures related to school-wide or community emergencies. Currently, our online credit course policy was limited in the scope, and we wanted to certainly make sure that every student gets for the work that they've been doing these past few months. That's all I have tonight, unless there's questions on that one.
Thank you. So that's the completion of the first reading of these. We could take a motion to approve the remaining ones, correct?
I believe we took the motion on the 2 that we could approve tonight, and the rest of the 4 will be on the next board meeting for final approval.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Thanks. That wraps up the public portion of our agenda for this evening. So we will need to go into executive session and invite Mr. Giard. Someone would please give me that motion.
I move that we move into executive session at this time and invite Mr. Giard for the purpose of discussion concerning individually contracted employees.
Second.
Thank you. Amanda with us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. So we will enter into executive session and just sit tight for a couple minutes.
We are live.
Okay, thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Chair. You should announce that we're out of executive session.
Yes, we are out of executive session. So
Mr. Chair, if I could make a motion then?
you may, please, thank you.
I move that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent of schools to renew the terms and conditions of employment for central office and non-union staff members in accordance with his recommendations for salary increases not to exceed the greater of $1,200 or 1.5% of such employee's salary, whichever is greater, on such terms and conditions as he may deem appropriate, pending satisfactory job performance evaluation.
Is there a second?
Pat Fedor, second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this. It's the greater of the two. So if somebody's making $100,000, it's going to be more than $1,200.
No,
Correct.
12.
That is correct. That's
But if
my
I'm making
reading.
$50,000, then it's only going to be $1,200.
Right, because that would be greater than 1.5%. Right.
Okay.
So that did the reverse of what I had intended.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else? All right. With that, we will take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed?
Deb and Marcia?
And Joy.
And
Joy.
Joy's
Sorry.
a no.
Okay.
Let me just take notes because I'm taking minutes. Deb, Marcia, and Joy. Okay.
And
Any-
Deb.
Yep, I have Deb, Marcia, and Joy
Correct.
as nays.
Right.
All right.
Correct.
Any abstain? Okay, so the motion carries. Motion for adjournment would be in order.
So moved.
Joy, thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstained. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.